Alright, this is a quick chatbot that I made using Microsoft Foundry, which gives you GPT, Claude, Llama, Grok, literally all from one API key. And let me show you how to use it. It allows you to make agents, and it can also generate images for you, and you can literally have up to as many models as you want running. So let me show you how to use it. So this is Foundry's homepage. When you are inside the homepage, you're going to go ahead and you're going to create a new project. If it's not showing up here, and then do create a new project. You could go ahead and name your project, some advanced options. You're going to want to pay attention to the region because in regions, different models are offered, and so you're going to want to keep an eye on that. I usually like to use East US2, or I do Sweden Central because that tends to be where the most models are offered. And when you create a resource group, you're going to want to use the same region as you go with here, and you're going to go ahead and create the project. Once your project's finished loading, you're going to want to start building out either some agents, but before that I'd go ahead and select some models. I already have a few models in here, but yours will be empty. So then to deploy some models, what you're going to do is deploy a base model, and here is going to be the Foundry catalog, which has over 11,000 models. It has every major lab you could think of: OpenAI, Anthropic, Meta, Microsoft, Black Forest Labs. And whenever a new frontier model drops, it's usually on here within minutes. So let's go ahead and pick a one. We'll do I do like to use this model router because it does offer a variety of different agents. It does offer a variety of different models. As you can see, it supports all these models listed right here, and all that you would do is deploy default settings, and it's going to start deploying the model for you. So this model router will actually choose which model to run based off of the questions and based off of which tools you add. But I already have some projects that I've been building over the past few years with Foundry, so let's just go test one of those out. So here's one of my projects, and this is connected to my AI operating system. And as you can see, I have quite a few models on here, and you could actually either go ahead and just call each one of those models from your project by using the API key on this project endpoint, or you could go ahead and you could start building some agents with those models. So if, say, you come to the agent page, click new agent. I'm just going to show you one that I already have. So this is that agent that I called in the beginning with the chatbot, and here is the prompt that I gave it. So here you can see you could add tools. You could have an MCP server, code interpreter, browse all tools. You could look at some of the catalog items that they have in here, which there's hundreds to choose from. You could add custom MCP servers and other agents. So once you have configured your agent, you could also go ahead and come to the playground and test it out. So I'm going to ask it a question, and then it's going to tell me to use Microsoft AI Image 2. Since that does tend to generate 4 images. So once you're done with your agent, what you're going to want to do is come up here and click Save, and then you will publish it. Before you do that though, you can also configure your agent. So you could give it a description, some starter prompts. So in the beginning, when I had that chatbot pop up, I could have already had some default questions that can be asked. You can also, so depending on what your prompt is tailored to, you could also create a new routine where your agent goes and goes through your email and gets all your unread messages and sends them to you in the morning, or filters them and gets the most important ones. You could go ahead and make that routine in here. You can also preview your web app, what it would be like to chat with it. So you could go here and do that. You could also come up here and it will give you the sample code that you could also just straight open it up in Visual Studio Code. And I'm actually going to make a video on VS Code because the Foundry toolkit in there, it's super easy to do all this. So then after you do publish it, you're going to see that you have your different iterations and different versions. You could always, if I wanted to go back to version 3 and deploy that because I liked what it was doing, I could just click version 3, publish it. But I always usually have mine set to always use the latest version. So then after you publish it, it will give you an endpoint for it. You could always come down here to details and get the endpoint for this agent specifically right here. This is some other information that I'm going to dive into later this week, and it's actually a lot easier to set up your Entra ID if you do have one. And so after that, you can go ahead and wire this up to your app or to whatever operating system you want. I have this OS agent connected to my operating system, so I have some of these models, doing a debate room, or doing agent-to-agent workflows as well. And I use this for a ton of different projects, and I will get into those down the road. If you wanted to come back in here and possibly change which model you're running this agent on, it's very easy to just come in, select a new model, save, publish, and it's all set to go. And so if it's already wired up to your project, just by you clicking save and publishing it, it'll update automatically for you. And so after your project is up and running, or if you want to come and check on how your agent's doing, the status of it, send it out to teams or put it on a new routine, you can definitely do that. And I will show you more about Foundry, but once you set up role-based authentication, depending on who you have set up in Foundry, this agent will then be automatically shared around your team. You can also come and set up app insight resources here. And it's very simple. Once you connect it, it's just going to ask a couple of questions and that'll fire off. You can come and you can monitor and see once this has been up and running. You can see the different insights here, which is always nice to have. And then you can actually wire this through an API and have this set up on a dashboard, so you're not always having to come in here. Or if you're just going to use the Azure dashboard, you could do that as well. And then you could actually do an evaluation. So after you made your agent, if you wanted to, maybe have someone on your team test it and have it throw certain questions at it and see what the response is, you can go ahead and set that up. And so that's always just a nice check to kind of have. Or you could actually have an automatic one done and it'll start generating certain evaluations and then give you a report at the end. And so as far as fine tuning and adding tools and knowledge bases and things like that to your agent or just to your project in general, I'm going to dive into that probably next week. And so now if you have all the agents set up and all the models that you're going to be making calls to in your project or your team project, solo project, I'm using this as in my operating system, which I'm going to show you guys that within the upcoming weeks. I've been using and working on it probably for 3 months now, and it works great. And so I don't call all these, but I do call a good majority of them. And so now you're ready to go ahead and wire this up to your own app. Again, all you're going to need is this API key and the project endpoint. It's literally that easy. And so here's the same project, the OS agent, which it has the 2 agents and all those models selected. Here it is being called from my code using that same API key and the same code. Only thing I did was just change the model names. And so I'll go ahead and on my landing page, I will ask it, build me a launch campaign. It's like they've tried, it's going to hand it off to the chat. Here's where I could force model swaps, select which model I want to run. I have my image generation models down here. And so this is just something I put together quickly for the demo. I really wanted to stress how you literally just have the one endpoint, the one API key, and all these models are now just under the one bill for you through Azure, which is nice. And so let's say I wanted to use GPT 4.1 for building me a launch campaign. I'll go ahead, send, and I didn't think about it, but I did a format how I wanted my response to be. So probably spit it out in Markdown. Yeah, so it's in Markdown, which is fine. My backend, I would just format it, indicate how I want it to be presented to me. And so now you can come and, pick different models, select different models from Foundry, and start playing with it and have, as you saw, hundreds, if not thousands, depending on what you're doing, of different models that you could use for your projects. And just showing how easy it was to set that up, I think can save a lot of people time, especially, like I said, if you don't want to have, 15 different subscriptions, then this might be a route for you to go. But you always want to check the pricing on what these models are. Some of them, are maybe a bit more pricey than the subscription, but it does save you a lot of time. And so I'm actually going to dive in next week into my operating system and how I use Foundry in there, since I do have, meeting rooms and debate rooms where I have different models going at each other, asking questions, answering some of my questions, waiting for my input. And so you could do a lot with this, which is nice. So I'm also going to dive into VS Code and show you guys the new toolkit in there that launched this month, because everything we just did, you could actually do in VS Code through that Foundry toolkit, and it makes things a whole lot more simple because it's already generating and putting the code in there for you. So you're creating agents in there, and it makes things a lot easier. So I'll probably do that hopefully on Friday. And so be on the lookout for that. And in the meantime, go ahead, play around with this. I do know at least when I signed up, they gave me $200 worth of utilization within Azure. And so I used a lot of it in here and then a lot of it setting up other projects that I did. And so I've been using Azure for a few years now. And if there's anything else you guys want me to show you, which I will be showing some of my other projects on there. So in the meantime, go ahead, subscribe, and I will make sure to upload on Friday. And if there's anything else you guys want to see, just let me know in the comments.